the back? They're very close. How are they doing with you at the back, birthday girl?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daddy. Happy birthday to you.
Now, have you got them at the back now? You got sheets? Okay. Who says we don't have? There are plenty. Ladies, are there anyone with a whole pile of sheets? Ruby's got them. Anyone else hasn't got? Okay. This Shiur, Parshat Lech Lecha, it's my anniversary. 35 years ago, Parshat Lech Lecha, I made Aliyah. And really my birthday, I suppose. I would like to dedicate this Shiur to our alumni who've made Aliyah. I think it takes, I know it takes tremendous courage to make that step, to really do what Avraham Avinu did. And we have so many alumni in the country. We have a WhatsApp group called Ein Li Eretz Acheret. On that WhatsApp group, there are 350. I know there are 4 times that amount of alumni because we have alumni from before WhatsApp was created. And we don't have their updated cell numbers. And I really take my metaphorical hat off to those Bogrot. We have Bogrot, as you know, whose husbands fought in the army, Bogrot whose husbands were killed. We have Bogrot whose children are in the army. And it's a big deal. It's a massive deal to make your way to a country which you're not acquainted with and to turn that into your life. It's the most fantastic achievement. So normally every year around Parshat Lech Lecha, we have a celebration of our alumni. We will probably do something, but it will probably be when you're on your 2-day Shiur. It's a good chance to celebrate and to give them the honor that they so deserve. So, we are not B'nai Noach, we are B'nai Avraham. And now we're being introduced to Avraham. Vayomer Hashem el Avraham, Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetecha u'mibeit avicha el haaretz asher areka ve'escha legoy gadol va'avarechecha va'gadla shemecha ve'yeh bracha. Hashem says to Avraham, these are psukim that you know very well. Lech lecha, that seems to be a superfluous lecha. You normally say to someone, get out, go. You don't go get thee out. What does lech lecha mean? Me'alsecha, from your land, moladetecha, which we'll try and understand what that means. Umi beit avicha, we know what beit avicha means, you know, our home. El haaretz asher areka, but go to a place that I will show you. I'm not telling you where it is yet. I will show you. It's the unknown. And the result will be that you will become a goy gadol. You will be a great nation. I will bless you, make your name great, and it will be a blessing. Have a look at the Kli Yakar, which is much longer than this, but I just took a part of it. Vayomer Hashem el Avram lech lecha. What would be missing if the pasuk just said, go to the country that I tell you? Why do we have to go through the stages of Alsecha, Moladetecha, Beit Avicha? ונראה לפרש שתיקו הקדוש ברוך הוא מעניין לעניין כדרך שמחנכין התינוק. It could be that God was taking Avram through stages in the way that we educate children. Maybe it will be too much to say it all in one go. Al kein asa lo shlosha chalukot, so he gives 3 sections. Ve'tiko el inyan haravi, and then moves to a 4th. Ki mitchila bikesh mimenu la'azov artso. First, he asks him to leave his country. V'zeh she'ela ktana. That is, might seem enormous to you, but that's the easiest thing to do, is to leave the country that you grew up in. Everything's relative. Because you don't have so much benefit from your country, more than any other country you don't have it to compare with. Except for the fact that people know who you are and they respect you. You're acquainted with your surroundings. But normally in a country, most people don't know you. If you've committed a crime, people don't know who you are. And so you're not going to miss that, the fact that, the people in the street, they don't know who you are. So it's easier to leave the country, right? You're just another passport. After he had come to terms with the fact that he would be leaving the country, you have sheets, girls? You have sheets? So here Kli Yakar says it's to do with your peers. I'd probably extend that and suggest that it's your neighborhood. You know, your neighborhood is where you come from. It's where you grew up. It's your history. I have children who know nothing about the school I was almost kicked out of. They know nothing about the pond park with the snails that I used to throw at people. They know nothing about where I used to play sport and where I used to go. They have no idea. My children don't know anything. They know where I live because they've been there, but it's your whole history. It's your whole life. Everywhere you grew up is where you have all your experiences. It's your past. And you know your neighbors and people know you. So it's a bit more, your neighborhood is a bit more impressive than your country. For me, certainly, Edgware is much more meaningful than England. It's a place I grew up in. And after he gets through that challenge, then the hardest challenge of all is leaving your parents' home. I remember the morning I made Aliyah, 15th of November 1989, years before I was born. My dad wrote me a letter. And it was such an emotional letter, I locked myself in the toilet. And people were knocking at the door to say goodbye, and I couldn't even speak. I was so emotional. To leave your parents' home, which is your castle, it's your protected space, it's where it's where you really feel yourself. So to leave Beit Aviv is a big deal. And also you have the security of the house. And נוסף על 3 מיני קרבה אלו יש קרבה רביעית. There's a 4th factor. כי אדם קרוב אצל עצמו יותר מכל 3 מיני קרובים אלו. A person is about themselves. Now what's he going to say here? And he elaborates much more than his. על כן נאמר לך לך. What Hasidim did with this pasuk is unbelievable if you have the time. Go to yourself. Go find yourself. Like saying to someone, I specifically want you to see this piece. Go to the place from where you were taken, the earth from where you were created. The essence of creation is here on Har HaMoriah, here on Har HaBayit. Last Sunday, the day before my daughter's wedding, and she said to me she wanted to go into Har HaBayit. So I don't go very often onto Har HaBayit. I've been once or twice. And it's changed a lot because we were never allowed to daven on Har HaBayit. And now they daven Shachrit every day on Har HaBayit. Amida, Chazal Sashatz, I don't know whether you know, you don't say Amen on Har HaBayit. You say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Every bracha, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, like the Avodah here on Yom Kippur. And the bracha isn't Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, it's Baruch Atah Hashem Elokei Yisrael Min HaOlam Va'ad HaOlam. And you're allowed to bow down like we did on Yom Kippur. Totally, on Har HaBayit. Never done that before. I did it 8 times. Got a bit messy, I must say, lying on the floor on Har HaBayit. Very, very emotional. And Kli Yakar says this is where the world comes from. So Lech Lecha is going back to where you came from. Har HaMoriah is where we come from. Ki Adam mimakom kaparato nivra, we were created in the place that atones for us. Umakoro min Har HaMoriah ki misham lukach hafaro. And that is Har HaMoriah. So I was reading this and I thought, wow. So I can't miss this out when we're here for a year. The makom, we're coming back, as Kuzari would say, a plant grows in its most natural place. Now you can grow a plant in a greenhouse. You can put it in a glass house and create the temperature for which the plant will grow. But nothing will compare to the real climate that it belongs in. So we've done that over the last 2,000 years. We have created greenhouses where we can grow as a Jewish people and grown in an incredible way, but nothing could possibly compare to being at your source. And Kli Yakar says that's what Lech Lecha means. Go to your source. This is where we came from. I've never seen the second part. I've seen the first part of the Kli Yakar, but the second part means that you, and really only you, of all your peers, except for a number of Sephardi girls around the corner, of all your peers, you are the closest to the source of yourself. This is where we came from. Lech Lecha, go to yourself. That's the first comment. Have a look at Rav Hirsch. Lech Lecha. Ilu ne'emar kan rak sa me'aran lechanan. If it just said journey from Aran to Canaan, lo haya katuv omer lech lecha ela lech. It would just say lech, go. Or ulai say, or go out. Achilu הייתה זאת הכוונת הכתוב, לא היה צריך להזכיר מולדתך מבית אביך, שכן היציאה מעיר המולדת ומבית אב היא בכלל יציאה מן הארץ. To suggest, and what he says is clear in all the parshanot, that in order to leave your land, you have to leave your father's house, you have to leave your neighborhood first, not the other way around. That's why the Kli Yakar suggests that it's levels of difficulty, because if it's levels of order, you leave your house before you leave your neighborhood before you leave the land. It's not the other way around. So what does Lech Lecha mean, says Rav Hirsch? Lech la'atzmecha b'didut. Go with yourself on your own. Go on your own. Ladies, we are B'nai Avraham. We're not B'nai Noach. Kach Eitzel Yitro, by Yitro it says, Vayelech lo, he went with himself. Hu viter al hayitronot shayu tzfuyim lo al yedei hakesher im Israel. Yitro went on his own. He gave up the advantages he would have sustained by staying with the Jewish people. V'chein omer Yeshua livnei Gad v'livnei Reuven. That's what Yehoshua says to Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven. V'ata panu v'lechu lachem lo'alechem. Go on your own to your tents. Yatzatam yedei chovatchem lichlal. You've worked for the general public, for your people. V'ata yecholim atem lalechet le'atzmechem. Go to yourselves. Hang on a minute, you'll see where he's going. Have omer kan lech le'atzmecha. Go to yourself. V'darkecha shelcha. Go in your way. in the way that you choose, Lech b'derech, take a derech, שתבודד אותך מארצך וממולדתך ומבית אביך. And you should know, Abraham, that when you choose this way, you will be alone. You will be alone from your people. You'll be alone from your land. You will be alone. But he's not talking about an alone that Klali is talking about. He's talking about the alone that we feel now. The alone when they rape our women, the United Nations takes 10 months to admit that it's rape. The alone when they're firing us missiles from the Lebanon for 7 months and no one says a word, and when we shoot back, there has to be a ceasefire. The alone when we close down the United Nations offices in Israel because the members of those offices committed murder on the 7th of October. And the UN cries out. And the United States cries out. That's the alone he's talking about. Lech Lecha, you should know, you choose this way, you're going to be on your own. Mikol haksharim shayu lecha ad כה, all the connections you had until now, it's going to be over. You choose this way. You're on your own. Hahagira rishona me'or kastim ulai hayta letzorech hatzala. It could be that the initial journey, as Rashi explains at the end of Parashat Noach, was to save Avram's life. Ve'ilu b'mitzvah zo ha'alicha hi matara la'atzma. And that itself was an objective. Achein lo mitoch zilzul baracha shemoledet. We're not talking about cheapening our relationship with where we were born. Nidrasha prisha me'am va'aretz b'shat hanachat ha'yesod le'umah yehudit. But we are talking about the foundation stone of the Jewish people. It means you've got to be on your own. Hipucho shel davar. Harachat ha'yesodot ha'ele me'ida al godel hanisayon. This is the challenge that we face. The challenge when you just want to do a degree in NYU or Columbia or Birmingham and they won't leave you alone. They're encamped outside the college. They don't even know where Palestine is. They don't know what a Palestinian is. They don't even know the history of the Jewish state. They don't know anything about the partition plan. They know Gordish McGordish. They know nothing. And the students stand alone. Lech Lecha. Stand alone. It's always been the same. Etzem habedidut she'utla al Avraham, this singularity, this aloneness that was given to Avraham, benigud gamul tkufato, he had to do something which was in contrast to everyone and anyone who he lived with. לא הערכת ערך הפרט, אלא ריכוז השלטון, זו הייתה רוחו של הדור. No one was interested in the individual, everyone was interested in the government. שהחל לבנות בניין פאר בסיסמה, נעשה לנו שם. Everyone came together to build מגדל בבל. כך ניטל מן האדם ערכו האישי. So individual expression had disappeared. וסופר בסופו שהפך למכשיר גרידא. That was the aim, was to build this Migdal Bavel, which expressed and reflected community, but not the individual. You are forced in such a community to follow the majority. They fix the values, they fix the derech. And lo and behold, if you dare open your mouth, if you dare suggest that maybe this isn't right, every value is defined by the majority. The Tzibur can reflect big values, but not always. The beginning of Judaism is the prototype of our Judaism, which is Lech Lecha. Understand what it means to be a Jew. To be a Jew means to be prepared, to stand alone, stand with truth. It's a fantastic Rav Hirsch. It wasn't written last year. Lech la'atzmecha v'arei ze erech na'ala od yater, for a person to be an individual, to follow their beliefs, is the greatest of values. Ein ish rashai lomar ani tzaddik v'yashav betem le'ofna. A person should not be saying, I am righteous in line with fashion, what people are doing. Kol adam machriya atzmo klapei Hashem. Every person stands alone in front of God. And if it so happens that what the majority are saying isn't true, is sheker. In fact, it's so convincing that when you look at the screen, you're pinching yourself because you're trying to understand, how can it be? Am I a paranoid Jew? Or do I stand by truth? I have to tell you, my experiences, not just in the last year, in all my life, this ridiculous dialogue that we have to have has only emboldened me and strengthened me because it's so obviously sheker. It's so obviously lies. It always was. It was lies from Joseph Goebbels, and it's lies from Abu Mazen, and it's lies from this one, and it's lies. But you are forced to stand alone. We stand alone. Avodat Hashem levadcha. That's what God is saying to Avram. It's and inherent in the words of Rav Hirsch is this is much more of a challenge than leaving your home. Mele, you leave your country. Mele, you leave your neighborhood. Mele, you leave your father's house. But you now have to stand alone. You have to stand on your own. The whole word says one thing, and is incredible, right? This is a parsha where the Ramban introduces us to Maaseh Avot Siman Levanim, that what happens to our fathers happens to our sons, and the same thing has happened again and again and again. It was the same in 1938 on the 6th of July at the Evian conference, when the nations of the world came together. All of the nations that we come from came together and decided that they don't have the Jewish problem. With a wink and a nod, he gave Hitler permission to carry on as normal. Dachau existed. Buchenwald existed. And the world couldn't help. As the Australian representative said at that conference, we don't have an ethnic problem. We don't want to import one. Lovely. We stood alone then. We stood now. But now we stand with guns and with airplanes and with tanks and with our green kittles. Ladies, I think this is such an important piece. This is a foundation stone of the Jewish people. You're going to be a Jew. You have to know that you have to stand alone. A person is connected to their family, to their land. וגם לשון הקודש רומזת על כך בעצם המילה בית וארץ. אולם קשרנו להשם יהיו חזקים ואמיצים מקשרנו למולדת משפחה. Our kesher, our connection to our belief, our connection to God is greater than our connection to anything else. That's what ideology demands. That's what religion demands. If you really believe, what are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to do? Lech, Lecha. Are you prepared to stand out there on your own? Have a look at Rabbeinu Bechaye. Next page. Holechet chachamim yechakem v'rak hasilim yaroa. Long but not long-winded. Shlomo HaMelech alav shalom yasir b'pasuk hazeh al adam lishtader b'chevrat hachachamim, that a person should attempt to be in a good environment. Litrachek mechevrat kesilim, to keep away from fools. We should all listen to that advice. Be with the right people. ואומר הולך, שהולך אחריהם תמיד הוא מתחבא עליהם ועושה עצמו טפל להם. You walk after them, you follow them, you become secondary to them. ונותן אותם עליו אלופים לראש. מי שיש לו מידה זו אין ספק שיחכם. A person who follows the right people will definitely become wiser. In the good חברה, you will become a better person. והמתחבא עם הכסילים, if you choose to follow fools, you choose to be with the wrong people, to mix with a bad environment, שהוא להם ראש ידוע, כלומר ישווה, then you will break, you'll be broken, you'll be following the wrong people, you will get nowhere. והפסוק מביא הנזק המגיע מחברת הכסילים. The pasuk explains, the pasuk he quotes at the beginning from Mishlei, quotes the result of what happens if you mix with the wrong people. והתועלת המגיע לאדם מחברת החכמים. And the advantages one gets from mixing with the right people. כי זה ישווה וזה יחכם. One will break you, one will make you grow. We don't realize this very often. We don't realize it until we failed. We don't realize it until something's gone wrong. And those people are nowhere to be seen, right? They led us up the wrong path. They took us to the wrong place. Now I'm standing in front of Dr. Yocheved and you can't find them. They're not part of the school, Bichlal. And you've got to answer for yourself. And you look to your left, you look to your right, there's no one there. Yishaveh, you will break. And you won't have any friends. Your friends will be hiding. וידוע כי המתחבר לחכם יהנה וחכם אינו חסר כלום. And if you connect with a chacham, you will become wise and he won't lose anything from it. That's why the Torah is compared to being a candle. That the ner of Hashem, your words are a ner. Everyone lights from a candle and the candle doesn't lose any light. It only stays the same. ומזה אמרו במדרש, הולך את חכמים וחכם. You go with wise people, just you have to be patient, bear with him. You go with wise people, you'll become wise. משל למה הדבר דומה לאדם הנכנס לחנותו של בושם, you walk into a perfume shop, וקלט ריח הבשמים, and you're there long enough to smell of the perfume in the shop. כשיעשה כל בגדיו מבושמים, when you leave the shop, all of your clothes, they smell good. והוא לא קנה מן הבושם, you didn't even buy the perfume. כלומר, הבושם לא מכר לו כלום. The basam, the person selling the perfume, didn't sell him anything. וזהו שאמר, הולך את חכמים יחכה. The chacham remains the same. He didn't lose anything, but you become wise by the fact that you are with him. V'roa kasilim yaroa. But if you decide to hang out, chevra, be bad for you. Yomar ki hamitchabem hakasilim yishabev. You mix with, you're in a bad environment, you will break. Klomar yagia ha'inyan lenezek gadol ki hamitchaber alehem mezik la'atzmo. Because you mix with those people, you are damaging yourself. So what do we learn from this? Still introducing his words. From mixing with the wrong people, we are damaged and we gain nothing. And when we mix with the right people, we gain and it doesn't cost them anything. הם בוחרי המידות המגונות והתאוות הגופניות ומבזים ענייני השכל. And who are the kasilim, says Rabbeinu Bechai? The people who choose a world of materialistic benefit. And they don't use their minds. והם שאין ראוי לו anything. They look like you were born yesterday, you didn't see anything. מבני כת היא מן השלוש כיתות שציווה שלום עליו השם שלו לא הוכיחם. ואלו הם כסילים לעצים רשעים. These are part of groups of people that Shlomo says there's no point talking to. They don't accept rebuke. They know everything. They've seen everything. Skip a couple of lines. וכשם שחברת החכמים סיבה גדולה והזמנה רבה בקיום עבודת השם יתברך. And seeing as being with the right chevra is the way that you can serve God. כך חברת הכסילים והרשים הזמנה גדולה וסיבה לביטולה. Being with the wrong people, being in the wrong place is a way not to develop. שכן, כתוב כי יסיר את בנך מאחריי, והכן ראה דוד להתחיל ספרו בהרחקת חברת הרשעים. That's why Tehillim begins by telling us to distance ourselves from wicked people, from a bad environment. What's this got to do with us? Few lines down, V'hinei Abraham Avinu alav hashalom rasa lekiyem inyan haTorah v'avodah. Abraham Avinu was a servant of God. U'chomo shedarshu razal kiyem Abraham Avinu afilu eruvei tavshilin. Whatever that Chazal means, Chazal say that Abraham kept the halachas even of eruvei tavshilin. U'tzrach lizehem echevrat anshei doro hareshaim. And he had to distance himself from his generation that weren't doing the right thing. So God says you cannot develop. He's just adding, supplementing the words of Rav Hirsch. Why do you have to go on your own? You cannot be with these people. I have to tell you, ladies, most ladies in the room, I was listening 2 months ago to a shir, Rabbi Weinberger. I was listening on my way into work. I don't know how many people were in the room. Honestly, I don't know how many people were in the room. It was Tisha B'Av. I think it was Tisha B'Av. And his words were, listen, Chevra, it's finished here. We're done. It's finished. We've discovered things in the last year that we never knew, but we thought were acheret. He's not a Bnei Akiva man, Rabbi Weinberger, at all. He loves Israel very much. And those were his words. It's done. We're done. We're done here. Doesn't matter whatever happens tomorrow. Really doesn't matter. It's a matter of being able to distance yourself in order to develop. Don't try. I want to take a break here. Go over the page to the Netziv at the bottom of the second page. And what's incredible about these sources, you look particularly excited today. Feels like a Tuesday morning. What's particularly incredible about these sources, if they cover totally different generations. Rabbeinu Bechai, Rav Hirsch, and now the Netziv, closer to the time of Rav Hirsch. There is a bracha. We know that Bilam cursed the Jewish people, correct? But we know that his curses turned to brachot. So the Netziv says on the bracha of Bilam, Am levadad yishkon, uvagoyim lo yitchashav. This nation will sit alone. I'm just translating it. He will translate it differently in the most incredible way. Uva goyim, and we will never be reckoned by the goyim. Lo yitchashav. I see what the Netziv says. Lo kaderech kol umah, ladies, these are words of truth. Please have a look inside. Lo kaderech kol umah v'lashon כשהולכים בגולה ומתערבים עם המגלים אותם. משיגים בזה אהבה וחשיבות כל אחד ביניהם יותר משהיו נפרדים מהם. Most people, what is an American today? So many different nationalities in America today. So many different origins. If you walk through the streets of Manhattan, that you'll see so many different people with an American accent. They're not Protestant white Christians. They could be Japanese, they could be Chinese, they could be Muslim, they could be Hindu. And they have more or less all of them assimilated into society. Says in Netziv, Aval lo ken am Israel. That's not our history. Keshehu levada, see how he learns a pasuk. When we believe in ourselves, when we hold by our beliefs, yishkon, we will have peace. B'menucha v'kavod, they will respect us, they will honor us. V'ra'u kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra elav. Uva goyim. If you try and become one of them, you write nasty articles in the New York Times to hit the Jewish people, and you think that they're going to love you. You stand up in Hollywood and you down Israel, and you think they're going to love you. Uva goyim. You want to be like one of them, and you think that by having a go at Israel and with your liberalism, which is pseudo-liberalism, because you have not an iota of patience for any other people if they don't agree with you. If you lose an election, you burn the American flag. That's your belief in pluralism. Everyone has the right to vote as long as they vote what I do. Plato's Republic. And people who don't vote like me don't deserve the right to vote because they are animals and they are ignoramuses and they don't know anything. And we all believe in democracy unless we lose the election. On both sides. And then suddenly democracy isn't a value. Uva goyim, and if you think as a Jew that you can assimilate into these people, lo yitchashav, you should know it will never happen. You can write as many articles as you want in the New York Times. You will always be a Jew. You will always be a Jew. When push comes to shove, they will call you Jew. They will reject you. We saw it already in the last war. It would be shocking for any English girl in this room to read the comments of Neville Chamberlain about Jews when he knew what was happening. It would shock you to the bone to know how Neville Chamberlain related to Jews. It would shock every American in the room if you knew what the State Department thinks of Jews. Not talking about FDR. If you knew what the State Department thinks about the Jewish people, they're going to Friendship Circle. If you need to go, just go so we can carry on. I hope it's not the whole room, really. That's not covered of a place to take all my students out of here. It should be just 4 or 5 of you. Uva goyim, but if you actually think that you will... I was told just 5 of you, not the whole room. If you think, and there are people that think that way, and you know people that think that way, you think they won't call you a name because you tell them that you love this and you love that, and Israel's terrible and Jews are terrible. It's never ever worked. Then it says, Uva goyim, you want to be like a goy, lo yitchashav. Won't help you. It won't help you. There is a shocking comment in the Beit HaLevi. There is a pasuk that we read every year and every Brit Milah from Yechezkel. The pasuk is, V'omar lach b'damai chayi, v'omar lach b'damai chayi. The Midrash says, you will live through the blood. And the Midrash says, what's that blood referring to? The blood is referring to the blood of Korban Pesach on the one hand, and the blood of Brit Milah. V'omar lach b'damai, you live through this by Korban. What is Korban Pesach? Korban Pesach is putting the blood on your doorpost and saying, I am a Jew. Not taking down my mezuzah because I'm scared, but putting the mezuzah on the door so that everyone knows that I'm a Jew, putting the flag in the window that everyone knows the Jew. V'omar lach b'damai chayi. And the other is Brit Milah. Now you know, or maybe you don't know, ladies, that when the Nazis wanted to identify a Jew, they just pulled down their trousers. That's what they did. I don't know whether you know that. But when they caught a person and they said, you're Jewish, and he said, I'm not, they pulled down his trousers. There are 2 sides of a Jewish person. The inside, the part of the body, and the proudness of a Jewish person with the Korban Pesach in the middle of Mitzrayim to offer up their God. But the Beis HaLevi has a different interpretation. I have to tell you, hold on to your seats, it's shocking. Because he said it before. He said it before things happened in history. And it's exactly the same as the Emek Dava. Listen to this. See, my hairs are standing on end from this. It's like, he says to Beis HaLevi, V'omar lach b'damai chayi. Either you have a choice. Either you show pride with your Brit Milah and you declare that you're a Jew. And if you don't, If a Jew doesn't declare he's a Jew, v'omalach b'damachi, they will declare you as a Jew. If you think you can hide, if you think you can be someone else, this has nothing to do with me, just forget it. V'omalach b'damachi, you want to stand up as a proud Jew, Brit Milah, Korban Pesach, okay. V'omalach b'damachi, but if not, they will stand up on the underground and scream out, free Palestine. They don't even know how to spell it. Their grandma was here before us. Really? Your grandma is 3,500. I got to meet such a lady. She must have a fantastic frame. False teeth. Their grandma was here before me? Are you joking? I've been here since 1948, Jewish years. Avram was born in 1948. Jewish years. 3,500 years we were given this country. And there was no one here. And if you want to know who was here, read a bit of Mark Twain. Because Mark Twain came here. And he taught Israel. And there was no one here. There were as many Jews as them. And they said Palestinians were here before. Yes. Because we were Palestinians too. Because the place was called Palestine. And why is that called Temple Mount? Perhaps because there was a temple on it. Lech, Lecha. Be ready to stand alone. You'll never regret it. But what the Netziv adds is that if for a minute you think that you can deny your destiny, I don't need to tell you, ladies, at the Wannsee Conference in 1942, most ridiculous conference, but it was a conference where Reinhard Heydrich, bless you, put into plan gassing of Jews. They'd already killed 1.5 million Jews. They discussed for half of that meeting, one record of the minutes was discovered and was reproduced now. So we've all have access to those minutes. They discussed for, I don't know how long, who is a Jew. I don't know whether you're aware of this. They didn't open up a Shulchan Aruch. But they defined Jews according to maternal grandparents. I don't know whether you know, there were churches in the Warsaw Ghetto because there were a lot of Christians there because Hitler decided they were Jewish. Poisek Gaon Olam. And they defined us. And they weren't interested in Ashkenazim or Sfardim. They weren't interested in Reform and Orthodox. And it didn't matter how much you assimilated. If they knew you were Jewish, you were Jewish. V'omar lach b'damai chayi. Shocking. That you put the Emek Davar together with the comments we had before spoke about the mandate that God gives us. Go out there, be proud. I am so proud to be a Jew. I'm so proud of my children. So proud. It sounds morbid. One of the greatest days of my life in Israel. Every Yom HaZikaron, soldiers go and they stand by the graves of people in their unit who've been killed. And when my elder son, Yitzchak, he was told to go to Har Herzl, I stood with him for 3.5 hours on Yom HaZikaron. He's standing there like this, and I'm standing there like this. I can't tell you how proud I was. How fulfilled I am as a person. If I did nothing in my life but came here and built a family here, it's fine. I was at my nephew's wedding last night. He belongs to a group of soldiers called Okets. I don't know whether you know what Okets is. Okets, they have dogs and they can smell out bombs. He spent the first week of the 7th of October in the Yeshuvim searching for terrorists. I still don't know what my eldest son has done. So I got the privilege of saying a bracha last night. And as I came down, I'm becoming an apikoros. I went up to each of these soldiers. I just hugged each one. And I just don't know what my role model is anymore. Because I think these kids are my mentors. They're my heroes. They're living what we've dreamed about for 2,000 years. Everything's the same, but nothing's the same. The same things are happening, but they're not the same things. There's a reason why Iran wants to fire back at us. We did a hell of a lot of damage in Iran. Now, you can't know about it because it's not a democratic country. But slowly things are coming through. It's a long way to fly. We're surrounded by miracles. We couldn't do this in 1939. I think I told you when on that first Shabbat that we were here for Shabbat. So just a wonderful reality was that my son's unit was here. They're graduating this week. Thursday morning, they do their Masa Kumta. And they're Benishim, right? They're Yeshivat Hesder. So they had a minyan. And there were two minyanim, big minyanim, right by the women's side. There was a green minyan, and there was a black minyan. Wow, I was so proud to be in the green minyan. Wow. And when I put on an army shirt in the Ela, if you think for 1 minute that was for you, I was thinking about it for 2 months. I was just waiting I didn't tell my wife, didn't tell anyone. I couldn't look at my daughter. Her husband's gone again to Gaza tonight. For the 5th time. So much pride, so much fulfillment. I'm not waiting for them to tell me I'm a Jew. I'm doing Lech Lecha. Going, and I'll be on my own, and I'll stand on my own, and I will analyze and reanalyze and think and rethink time and again whether I'm right. We have to do that. I don't think any army or government in the world checks itself like the Israeli government does and the Israeli army does every single time. Always checking and rechecking. But if we have to stand alone, has always been our destiny. That's what God says, Lech Lecha. So in previous years, I put a lot of emphasis on leaving your home. And I want to talk about Lecha. Turn over to the last page. A little comment of Rebbe Nachman. For the 130 girls who don't come to my Rebbe Nachman class. A little Rebbe Nachman here. Echad haya Abraham. Very short. I won't do the second bit. You can do it tonight because it's free, Beit Midrash. It's not fair that I have to start all over again with my humor until I get a proper laugh from you. I mean, I worked so hard in Elul to get you to laugh out of sympathy, and now you're back to the first week mode. Echad haya Abraham. Let's finish with this. Have a look at Rebbe Nachman. She'Abraham eved Hashem rak al yedei shaya echad. Abraham was a servant of God because he was one. Shechashab b'dato shu rak yechidi me'olam v'lo yistaker klal al b'nei ha'olam. He would not look at others. He would not be influenced by others. Shesarim me'acharei Hashem umonim oto. People who try to stop him. V'lo al aviv v'shah hamonim. You notice that. I hope you notice it. It's a pattern that has recurred for hundreds of years. When they kill us, they're all, oh, that's terrible, they killed. But if we fight, if we dare raise our heads, if we dare lift our fists, how dare you do that? How dare you? I don't need to tell you what America did after 9/11 to Afghanistan. Let's talk about proportion. But if we dare, Echad haya Abraham. רק כאילו הוא אחד בעולם. It's me, it's about me. I'm not talking about being selfish. I'm talking about, and we don't have to talk grandiose. We talk about every girl in this room, in your life, in your group dynamic here, is be yourself. And if you think for 1 minute that people will respect you because you give up your beliefs, you're a fool. They might use you, they might manipulate you. They'll never respect you if you just do what they want you to do. וזהו אחד היה אברהם. That's Abraham was one. וכן כל הרוצה לכנוס בעבודת השם, if you want to עובד את השם, you want to serve God, אי אפשר לכנוס כי אם על ידי בחינת שיחשוב שאין בעולם כי אם הוא לבדו יחידי בעולם. You have to do what is right. If you're the only one in the Beit Midrash, if you're the only one at the Kotel, if you're the only one, you have to do what is right. That has to be your torch. That has to be your guideline, not just as a Zionist ideologue, but as a Jew, as a human being. You have to do what needs to be done. I promise you, I don't promise you often, but I promise you, that's been my experience in life. That if you do, and you follow your truth, and you do it without condescension, and without arrogance, whatever people say, they will respect you. Sometimes they won't say nice things because they're jealous or because you're reminding them of their faults. But if you hold by, that's been my experience, you hold by what you believe. A girl once said to me, at the end of the year, we were talking about different halachas. She said, I went to co-ed and every boy, we just hug, whatever. And if I don't hug, they won't be my friend. I said, that defines a friendship? Really? If you hug them, they're your friend. If you don't, they're not. You don't need such friends. Your friends will stand by you. If you're not arrogant and condescending, if you're arrogant and condescending, you get what you deserve. But if you believe in what you believe and you do what you do, won't always be expressed. Levado yechidei haolam. You are on your own, not in a selfish way. 2 more lines. I've got 2 minutes, 2 more lines. V'lo yistakel al shum adam hamono. Don't look at anyone. Look at anyone. I see the head of the UN, I turn it off. I just turn off the radio. Mr. Macron's going to preach to me, Mr. France, Vichy France, they're going to preach. The ones who sent our children to Auschwitz, they're talking to me about morality. Germany's going to preach to me. England's going to preach to me, the wonderful empire. America's who's going to preach to me? We will preach to ourselves. And they won't stop us. Too many years. We kowtow to these people. כגון אביו ואמו, חותנו ואשתו, בניו ואחיו, או המניות שיש משאר בני העולם. Hamaligim, people who make fun. Mesitim, people who curse us. Umonim me'avadotai yitbarach. What is so remarkable and makes me so proud is that in the last year we have stood by our guns, not just literally, metaphorically. We have defended our people. Nasrallah is gone. Sinwar is gone. The vast majority of the hierarchy of Hezbollah is gone. And after years of being burnt and stabbed and shot and blown up, we have stood alone. Echad haya Avraham. And if you can't believe when you're seeing today what we have seen from the beginning of the Torah, Ma'aseh Avot Siman Levanim. It takes guts, it takes courage. My bracha to you, ladies, is that you spend time going over the rest of the daf, but that's not a bracha, it's just a wish. Is that you possess a belief in your life and that you fulfill it. There is nothing more fulfilling than having all your kids in the army and being able to marry your daughter in Israel and to fulfill. I was going to say, I was walking out of the midrashah today. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Michal who was next to me. I can't remember. And there were 3 little kids running towards us. These little rubber kids with their payas flying. And I wanted to turn around to her, but I thought she'd just be embarrassed. So I said, I'm just looking at a nevuah. I'm just looking at a nevuah. I'm living a nevuah. Or as I would say, and I've said many times, I am a prophecy. Right, have a good evening.